And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome to the show tonight Sergeant Patrick O'Donnell, here to give us the inside scoop about his brand new book, Honor and Valor. Sergeant, Sarge, welcome to the show. Give us the scoop about this book.
Well, I gotta tell you, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's quite the honor and privilege, seeing some of the previous guests you've had on here. It's like, wow, I'm in some pretty good company here. And I also wanted to take this time to congratulate you on Broadway Butterfly.
Oh,
Much deserved success. I'm so happy that the butterfly is soaring, isn't it?
she's flapping her little wings. She's
She
fluttering.
is.
Oh, thank you so much, Patrick. I appreciate that. And I'm so excited to hear about your book tonight, sir. Give us a scoop.
Well, Honor and Valor is the fourth book in the Brew City Blues series that I'm writing. And the best way I could describe this series is most of us have seen TV shows like Hill Street Blues, correct? You remember Hill Street Blues? It's very, very similar to that, but it's set in the city of Milwaukee and it loosely follows the career path of the main character, who's Michael Collins, and it's loosely based on my experiences of being a cop in Milwaukee for 25 years.
Ooh, well, I think we're all going to have a lot of questions for you, Sarge,
Hey,
about
I'm
your
ready.
experience on the force and your experience as an author. 9 books in, and now this being the fourth book in your Brew City Blues. So first, I just want to welcome everyone who is watching with us. We are live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time. It is a Mystery Monday. And because Mondays can be murder, we're going to make them a little less painful for you. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, we're so happy to have you here. Here's the drill. You get to ask our featured author anything you want. So ask Sergeant O'Donnell about his experience on the force, about this character of his. Is it him? Is it not? We got a lot to know. And so get your questions going in the chat and I will get them right over to him. Okay, kicking off with John joining us from Northeast Ohio. John, welcome to the conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hello, John.
Diane is joining us from YouTube. Hi, Diane. She says, good evening, Sara. Evening, Patrick. Diane, welcome to the conversation.
Well, good evening, Diane.
Sharon joining us from YouTube as well, saying howdy. Howdy to you, Sharon. Jennifer also joining us. We got a lot of friends on YouTube today. Jennifer joining us from YouTube as well, saying evening, Sara DiVello and retired Sergeant O'Donnell. Randy joining us from YouTube. Hi, Sara. Hi, Randy. And your black cat, very on brand for mystery and thriller mavens.
Yes, very.
Patrick, let's get into the questions. Diane would like to know, what was your most memorable experience writing this installment, the fourth book in your series?
The way I wrote this book was it's following the career trajectory of a police officer. He's a rookie, he doesn't know anything, and he's thrusted into this environment of probably one of the most violent sections of the country. He's taking shootings, he's in high-speed car pursuits, he's on chasing bad guys on foot. There's literally people shooting at him. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. But I also wanted to touch on the humanity where he moves from down south. He was married, he went through a terrible divorce, and he just wanted to start his life over again. The main character starts out around, I think, 30, somewhere in that ballpark. And I just wanted to make him more human with all the frailties. I had him internet dating. I had him doing all kinds of, all the stuff that we go through, when it's like, okay, you've been married for a while and then the carpet gets, thrown out from underneath you and you're back in the dating scene. All of a sudden you're just like, oh, zoinks, this is kind of scary, So I have him doing that. And then all the little mini kind of soap opera. The guy that Michael Anderle owns the company that I'm writing with, and he said this is a cop opera. We have all the fun stuff of a police story, but we also have the humanity that's in there. And it's like, okay, there's going to be that one cop that didn't sleep that day because they were up with their sick kid all day. There's going to be the cop that is having marital problems. There's going to, boyfriend, girlfriend, jealousies, all kinds of just stuff. And then you mix that into life and death situations. And that's what you get with me.
I love that. And what would you say is your most memorable experience writing this particular, this fourth book in the installment? Is there a memorable scene or a real life scene that from your own experience that you infused into the book, or what's been, or maybe just a memorable experience that you had a challenging, you couldn't quite get the scene right? What
Well,
stood out to you?
what I like doing is I love to have a opening scene that really grabs people. And I think I pulled that off with this book. And at the end, I like to close some loops and open some new ones. So there's a little cliffhanger at the end.
Ooh.
So
And
go ahead.
how many books do you have planned for this?
6 at least.
Okay, so we're 4 in, you have
Mhm.
2 more for sure planned, and then
Yes.
2 more. Okay, okay.
Yeah, we shall see. But as far as like the most memorable experience, what happened to me personally, and maybe this happens to other people when they're writing, these types of stories, and when they've lived it, is I was having dreams like you wouldn't believe. I was remembering things that happened over 20 years ago that I had forgotten, or maybe I just kind of pushed on the back burner because they weren't very pleasant. I was having horrible, horrible just time sleeping, flashbacks, the whole shooting match. But it's also very therapeutic. You revisit some ugly stuff, but then you wind up chuckling too, because you have some fun with it.
So, do you think it was the writing of this character that brought that up for you, or do you think it was always you were already dreaming it and then you funneled it into the
No, it
book?
was writing this character. It
Mhm.
was revisiting. It's very, very real to me when I'm writing these stories because I live them.
Mm,
It's like
mm.
I can feel what it's like to be back in the assembly. I can feel what it's like to be writing reports, handwriting reports using carbon paper, just stuff like that, or driving a car at over 100 miles an hour, chasing somebody in the middle, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. That must be quite the adrenaline rush being, going over 100 miles an hour at 3 a.m. Was your heart going, or do you ever
Oh,
get used to it?
I liken it to when you're on a roller coaster and you're going really slow to the very top, and then all of a sudden, bloop, you go straight down. That's how it feels. It's either the two things that really got the adrenaline up was the high speed chases and clearing a house for bad guys. You have your gun out. Most of these houses, well, a lot of them didn't have electricity or working light bulbs or whatever. So you're in the dark. It's like a horror movie almost. And you don't know what's around the corner if somebody's waiting just to pop you. And I've gone after homicide suspects that way. I've gone, you name it, I have done it that way. So
That
that again is like a roller coaster. Your heart is just literally thumping out of your chest.
that sounds really intense, and that would be hard to come down from that kind of adrenaline rush
Well,
for me.
the way we come down is right about 6 hours of reports following it. Unfortunately, there's all kinds of reindeer games. You're having fun for like, okay, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And oh, great. Now I get to write reports for the rest of the shift.
I love that. Now, Patrick, something that past guests have shared who are veterans of the police force or other branches of law enforcement have shared that some police, procedural shows get it right and some get it wrong. Diane wants to know, do you watch any and what are they if so?
Oh, boy. I think my inspiration, Diane, was when I was younger and I was watching Hill Street Blues. I was watching Barney Miller. I was watching SWAT. I was watching Chips, Starsky and Hutch, all those cool shows. Those were my inspiration to get on the job. Now, as far as once I got on the job and, much later, here I am writing stories about the job, I can't bear to watch most of those shows because they're so horribly inaccurate about just about everything.
Is is there one that you think gets it the most right, Patrick?
Well, you know what? Hill Street Blues is pretty good because it got the personalities and the culture right, I thought. There's also a show called Southland that was out not too long ago. It's not out anymore. It's probably maybe it's about 10 years old, who knows. But that was very realistic. The rest of them, yeah, for the most part, ugh. I mean, Bosch was okay, but there was some procedural stuff that was way off kilter. But hey, it's Hollywood. You got to make it interesting. You can't watch, you can't make a show about somebody writing reports for 6 hours or sitting in court for 8 hours and never testifying, and just trying to keep your eyeballs up.
That would be tough. That would be tough. Diane is saying she would love for Peacock to pick up your series as an homage
Oh, I
to
would
Hill
love
Street
that.
Blues on NBC. It would be fantastic. What a great idea, Diane. I love that.
So do I bring it on. I'm ready.
Patrick is ready for Peacock. Frank, welcome to the conversation. You're not late at all. You're just on time. Jennifer saying, so there will definitely be 2 more books in your series.
Yes.
Yay. So where are you with the writing of those, Patrick? Are they already planned? Or are they already written? Give us a scoop.
They are not already written. I have well, I'm almost done with the outline for book 5. I know what I want to do with it. There's a very rough outline written. I use Plotter. I really like Plotter. That's a really great software for that.
Wait, tell us about Plotter. I actually don't know about that.
Oh, Plotter is great. Plotter is just what it sounds like. It's plotting software. You can just put in just, bullet points in these little boxes, and I do the most generic version of it. But if you want to, you could put in hero's journey. You could put in, like romance. You could put in all. There's templates for it, or there's just like a generic one, and that's what I use.
Okay, great. Good to know. Good to know about a little peek inside your process. Diane says,
Yes,
thank you so much for sharing. Frank says, since you retired, have you found in boxes or other places items brought back, things which you have not thought of in years? Yeah. Do you have a,
you know,
I have the stash somewhere?
yes, Frank is spot on. Frank is in my Cops and Writers Facebook group. I love Frank. He's a great guy.
I,
He is a investigator. His forte was investigating fatal car crashes.
oh my gosh.
So
Oh,
Frank is a very, he's a seasoned vet. Let's just say that. But it's funny he mentions that because when I started doing this series, I have a duffel bag, literally a duffel bag filled with memo books starting in 1995, January 16 of 1995 when I started. I still have my first little memo book all the way till I retired, which was January 16 of 2020. And all I have to do is just fumble through these books and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that. Oh my gosh, I remember that." And that is a basis for a lot of these stories.
wow. So how many would you say you have?
Like a gym bag filled with them. And they're
Wow.
just, like the size of a cell phone. They're about that big.
Oh, the little tiny ones.
Yeah, but and they're not super thick. They're, about that. So
Wow.
yeah, that's that's where I get a lot of my stories from.
So much more, you got plenty more material to draw from.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have enough for yeah, probably an encyclopedia. Like, it's many, many, many volumes. That's not a problem because, I'm starting out the first book was field training. And that's what you go on after you're done with the academy. And then after that, there was probation because you're on probation for about a year. And all the trials and tribulations, it's not just the street, but you have to fit in with your coworkers. These are very close knit groups of people, and they're from all different backgrounds. They, it isn't all, like cookie cutter, but you all have to be on the same sheet of music when it comes to doing police work. You literally have, it's like, hey, watch my six. You are literally watching somebody's back. You're putting your life in their hands and they're doing the same with you. So, especially when you're in a super busy area, it's the middle of the night. I mean, yeah, it's like nothing else I can describe. But you're with all these people and you totally rely on one another. And at first, they don't even want to talk to you. The prisoners talk to me more than the cops did. You have to prove yourself.
Wow. How long does the proving yourself stage last?
Oh, about a year, maybe a little bit less.
And is it like a hazing kind of situation where you
It can be. If they don't kind of give you a hard time, they don't like you. They'll
interesting.
just give you the cold shoulder and they just won't talk to you unless they absolutely have to.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then the next book is Choir Practice. And that I had a little bit of fun with because choir practice was code for going out and drinking. It's like, hey, you know what? We worked midnight to 8. It's like, hey, choir practice at 9 o'clock at Rookies. That was a cop bar. It was just like what you would think of on TV. It was a bunch of cops, firefighters, nurses, factory workers, all third shift people.
So TV shows get some things right.
They do. That way they do. Yes, there are cop bars that are very cop friendly because it's very tribal, it's like
Mm,
you kind of want to be with your own people, so that can be great and it can be problematic. Sometimes we don't always make the best choices when we're drinking alcohol, and you mix in a lot of, stress and tension and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, sometimes it can get a little hairy.
right. And PTSD from all the adrenaline and all
Oh
the
yeah.
being in terror every day for your life.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't even realize that I had PTSD. I went, like we were talking earlier, that I went through a pretty nasty divorce and I went to a marriage counselor. I
Mm-hmm.
thought to myself, this would be a good thing. And my
Mm,
ex-wife didn't want to go, so I just went by myself.
mm.
And the psychiatrist was fabulous. She reminded me of the principal from Kindergarten Cop. She looked just
I
like her,
loved
and
her.
she was like 4'10", but she was so matter of fact, and she was awesome. She was just a wonderful person. And she's just like, you do realize you have PTSD? And I'm like, no, I don't. She says, oh, you have it bad. And I'm like, I never been told that before. I didn't realize that. And yeah, she was 100% spot on. She was great.
That is yeah, that must be a life-changing realization to first realize that you have something.
Yes, it
Uh,
was.
Diane wants to know, would you describe yourself as an adrenaline junkie or is that solely on the page?
you know I'm getting older now. So yeah, I love to ride motorcycles. I can't drive down the street at 100 miles an hour anymore, else I'm going to get a ticket, or worse yet, go to jail. So I don't want to do that, and I don't want to crack up. But maybe there is a part of me still that does enjoy going fast with nothing around me, and you know that kind of stuff, maybe to a point. But I'm not like Keanu Reeves in Point Break. I'm not jumping out of airplanes without parachutes or anything like that.
Good question, Diane. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Randy's saying he knows what you mean. He says when he was an officer in Las Vegas, he told new patrolmen that it's 99% boredom followed by 1% pure terror. Did those ratios sound right to you, Patrick?
That is spot on, Randy. Absolutely. You could have the most boring night ever and then pop poof. I'll give you an example. I was on field training. I had less than a week on the street out of the academy. I'm with my field training officer, the guy who it's another police officer that shows you the ropes and is trying to, break you in. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning. We arrested one guy for whatever the reason. It wasn't nothing dramatic. And we're like, I'm just looking at my watch. I'm like, I just want to go home. I am so tired. I just want to go home. The sun's coming up, blah, blah, blah. And we get a call for a stabbing. And we're like, all right. So we're en route The dispatcher gives a description of the person who just stabbed his best friend. It was over a card game. He thought he was cheating at poker. So he, there's a description of dude, and we're pulling up, and there's dude on the sidewalk running towards me. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I literally jumped out. I was in a patrol wagon. I draw down on him, and he's got the knife in his hand up like this. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to shoot this guy. I have less than a week on the job. That was the quickest career ever. Nothing good is going to come from this. And I think he could see that I was more scared than him. And he's just covered in blood. I mean, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, drop the knife. And he literally boop, drops the knife, goes face down on the ground, puts his hands behind his back. My FTO, I'm shaking like a leaf. I got my gun on him. I'm just like, I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And, my FTO hooks him up, puts him in handcuffs. And, we put him in the back of the patrol wagon. He looked at me and says, usually they're running the other direction. Just so you know, they're not running towards us. They're running away from us. And usually when we say drop the knife and all that, they're running in the other direction. He says, I don't know how this happened, but yeah, we'll take it. Why not?
Yeah, that's a crazy story. Why do you think he was running at you?
I think he was in shock too. I think he realized the severity, because he stabbed this poor guy in the armpit. And there's all kinds of arteries in that area, and there's no bone or anything to protect.
Right.
That's a bad spot to get shot or stabbed or anything like that. So here I am, the rookie. They have this poor guy that's just been stabbed. I'm in the back of they're like riding the ambulance to the hospital, get a dying declaration. And I'm like, okay, I think I remember what one of those are from the academy. I think we covered that in criminal law. I'm not sure. Yeah. So I'm asking him, they've got 2 IVs in this guy and they're pumping it and they've got his feet up in the air. I'm like, okay, I'm no doctor, but I could tell things aren't looking good for this poor guy. Yeah. And, the 2 paramedics are working like crazy trying to save this guy. And I'm like, hey, guy, you're going to die. Who killed you? Because that's how you have to do a dying declaration. They have to think that they're going to die.
Right.
And, and they're looking at me like, hey, we're trying to save this guy. You want to, kind of chill out a little bit here? And I'm like, well, whatever. So we make it to the hospital and it's amazing. A level 1 trauma center, when you have somebody that's been like shot or stabbed in a bad car, there's literally a team of people working on you. There's like 3 doctors, nurses, techs. It's like an indie pit crew. They all know their jobs. And there's one doc that's in charge of the whole thing. He's like the conductor for a symphony. He's making sure everybody's doing their thing. And I pull the doctor off to the side. I said, is he going to make it? And he says, yeah, if it was you or I, we'd be dead right now. But he said, this guy will make it forever. He's going to live to be 100. As soon as he said that, boo, straight line. So like, oh, this poor guy, they worked on him for over an hour. And he crashed 3 times. The 3rd time, doctor grabs a scalpel, opens up his chest, and he starts doing open heart massage on this guy.
Oh my God.
And I'm literally 15 feet away from this. And I'm like, is this going to be every night? I got the best job in the world. They're paying me for this? I would do this for free. This is amazing.
So how was he massaging it? Just
like pumping it.
He reached his hand in this guy's chest cavity and was pumping his heart for him with his gloved hand.
Yes.
Did he make it, Patrick?
No, unfortunately he did not. And, and that's the humanity of it too, because I remember very distinctly, it's like you get very emotional, you get wrapped up in it. And it's like, you're rooting for him, it's like, come on, you can make it. And all these battle-hardened nurses and techs and docs, they're so dejected after, and it is, and one part like TV is, it's like, all right, let's call it 6:24 p.m. And then they note that, and that's it. Then they start walking away and doing what they got to do. And then the medical examiner came, and the homicide detective came, and my FTO came to come get me. And we're out in the ambulance bay because, You put the body in a body bag, just like on TV, and there's a toe tag, just like on TV, and there's a chain of custody because the body is evidence.
Mm.
That's one thing that you'll see on TV where they put a sheet on top of them. Never, never, never. You never do that because you might be disturbing evidence. There could be all kinds of good stuff on there that would lead to finding the suspect. So I'm walking out in the ambulance bay and I see two of the nurses that were working, that were helping trying to save this guy, and they were both drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes and just sobbing.
Oh.
I'll never forget that moment as long as I live.
Mm.
It's like oh, come on, you could. Oh.
Mm. Patrick, did the guy who stabbed his friend over the alleged cheating have remorse when his friend died? Was he like, oh, that was stupid, it's just a card game?
He was really drunk.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those deals where he's going to wake up the next, one of the many things that Hollywood gets wrong is you can't interrogate or question somebody when they're intoxicated or high. You can't throw them in an interrogation room and, go through the whole rigmarole if they're drunk. That'll never hold up in court. You have to let them dry out. You have to let them percolate. So sometimes they remember, sometimes they don't remember. Sometimes, most of the time when I was at a homicide, and I've been to hundreds and hundreds of them, it's not a criminal mastermind. A lot of it's crime of passion. A lot of it is over drugs, over whatever. They're doing something illegal and something goes south.
Mm. Did you ever see him again, the stabber, or no?
Mm-mm.
Wow. So I think that would be one of the strangest things, is that you're thrust into this moment, literally of life, and in this case, death, the most intimate moment of these people's lives. And this guy died surrounded by strangers, yourself and the doctor and nurse team. And then you just have to go home.
Right.
And
And you're on to the next one, because I think the next night I had another homicide. So you can't,
yeah.
in order to be, in self-preservation mode, you can't get emotionally attached to that stuff. But
Do you ever get emotionally attached even though you're not supposed to?
yes,
Yeah.
anything dealing with little kids or like older people, like vulnerable victims, two gangsters that are, 25 years old that shoot it out and they both wind up killing each other. All right. You know what? They've got moms, they've got dads, brothers, sisters. Somebody cares about them, and there's a part of you that feels bad, but you're like, all right, that's the lifestyle you chose. But an innocent victim, that really, oh, that just tears your heart.
That would be very hard for me too. Thank you for sharing that. Sharon wants to know, what about Criminal Minds? Do you think that show is any good?
Never watched it. So, I'm a terrible person. My wife watches all that stuff. She loves, Chicago PD. I used to watch that with her, etc. And Hawaii 5-0 and all those shows. And I just couldn't watch them anymore because, it's like there was an interrogation scene where there was a woman detective interrogating this bad guy. I think it was either Hawaii 5-0 or Chicago PD. I forget which one, and she had her gun on her hip, and you never, never, never go into an interrogation room with a gun. And she starts out just like screaming at this guy, and she literally puts her gun in this guy's mouth, and she's like, talk, talk. And I look at my wife and I'm like, he can't talk, there's a gun in his mouth, how is he supposed to talk? And and I'm thinking to myself, well, that would get you in prison. That would, you can't treat people like that. That's complete ridiculousness. So
Patrick, maybe she should just read some of your duffel bag full of memo books.
She'd never be
Then
able to
that
read
would
my
be
writing.
accurate. Then that would be accurate. She should just, log off and keep it going. Diane, let me just get through all of these questions. Robin saying, welcome to the conversation, saying third shift workers are a different breed.
Oh my gosh, there is no doubt about that. I did midnight to 8 for 13 years, and then I did 7 at night till 3 in the morning for 4 years. So I led the vampire lifestyle for before vampires were cool. I was a vampire.
I love it. I love it. Sharon wants to know, what kind of motorcycle do you own?
I have a 2017 Harley Davidson Street Bob.
Wow, that
The
sounds cool. I don't know what that means, but it
the
sounds
best
very.
way I could describe it is if you've ever watched The Sons of Anarchy, that that TV show.
My husband watches that show.
Okay, those are the motorcycles that they have on there.
Okay, okay. I'm going to tell him. That's very
But
cool.
it's so much fun to. I used to have a big bike, like a big dresser, they're called, with saddlebags and the fairing and all that kind of stuff. And I had it for 20 years, and I'm like, you know what? I want something fast and stripped down, and I'm like, I'm going with this. So I have all kinds of fun.
Diane saying zooming along the open road. Yes, I think we're all picturing Patrick just flying down on his stripped down adrenaline junkie bike, um, but going safely under the speed limit because he doesn't want to end up in.
Of course.
Um, so Patrick, what can you share with us about? Oh wait, hold on. I'm going to get to everyone else's questions. Robin says the nurses who were sobbing were lucky that they could. Sometimes they don't have that luxury. They must go into the next emergency. This is true for all first responders. Robin, that's a really good point.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely. They were just like on their coffee break, and I think it
Mm.
just hit them. And it just, yeah, like I said, I'll never forget that look ever again.
Thank you, Robin, for reminding us of that. Diane wants to know, Patrick, what are you currently reading?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have my own podcast, and I try to read the books of the people that I interview. So that takes up and I'm on another podcast as a co-host, so that takes up a lot of my bandwidth for reading.
Don't be mysterious, Patrick. Tell everybody about your podcasts. Cops
Okay.
and Writers. Tell us about Cops and Writers first.
Cops and Writers is a podcast I started about 2 years ago to augment my Facebook group, Cops and Writers, and the books that I wrote that were Cops and Writers. Yeah, there was 2 books. They were police procedurals for writers. I wanted to help writers get their facts straight. So it started with the Facebook group, which was my editor and like 2 or 3 friends, and that's grown to about 6,500 people. And the books, those are consistently good sellers. It's for people who want to know what's going on with that. And I did the podcast to promote all that, and then before I knew, it was almost 2 years ago, and that's just taken off. It's so much fun. I get to talk to people like you, Sarah, that are crime writers that have interesting stories. I've had spies both on the CIA side and the KGB side. I have made friends that I never thought I would before because of that. It's just been so much fun. I love the podcasts. And I'm also a co-host on Writers Inc. with JD Barker.
Yay. Patrick is a great interviewer, and his interviews are a lot of fun. So everybody check out Patrick's podcast, Cops and Writers, and also Writers Inc., which he's a co-host with New York Times bestselling author JD Barker, which is how I met Patrick.
But as far as which book I just finished up not too long ago was Barbara Butcher's What the Dead Know.
Ooh.
She is a retired investigator from the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. And she had such an amazing story, both personal and professional, that I just didn't want to stop talking to her. I made it a 2-part interview. And I just want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with this person. She is so interesting. The book is so well written. I love audiobooks. In order to consume as much as I do, I buy audiobooks, and sometimes I speed them up. You can mess with the speed. And this one I didn't, because I enjoyed it so much.
Patrick, I think I'm starting to think that Diane got it right. You are an adrenaline junkie. You drive your motorcycle fast. You listen to your podcast on 2x speed. You've just revealed yourself.
Oh boy, you're a good interrogator there, Sarah. Yeah, there might be a career change here for you, I think.
Detective DiVello is reporting for duty.
Exactly.
So here, I'm going to throw the link in the comment. This is the book that Patrick read most recently. Barbara Butcher's What the Dead Know. So here is the link to that. Diane is laughing with us. Detective DiVello here. Diane saying, congratulations on 141
Oh,
um,
thank you.
episodes. Congratulations on that. Robin wants to know, since you are a motorcycle rider, are you also an organ donor? I'm an organ donor. Are you an organ donor, Patrick?
Absolutely. I don't know if they want my organs, but if they want them, yeah, they can have them. I'm not going to be using them after I'm dead. So absolutely.
Robin saying, sorry, that might seem a bit harsh, but I'm in Idaho where these idiots ride legally helmet free. Yikes. Amy saying Nebraska has voted to remove the helmet law as well. Idiots. Yeah, who doesn't wear? You wear a helmet, don't you, Patrick?
You know what? I will confess that I've been riding motorcycles since I was 16 years old. And I didn't start wearing one until maybe 2 years ago.
Patrick!
I know, very naughty.
Oh my God. Drop and give me 50 push-ups. You're dead. 50 push-ups, mister. 50
Okay,
push-ups.
I owe you.
Yeah, 10 for Amy, 10 for Robin, 10 for me, 10 for Diane. Randy's probably going to give you a fair pass. Diane saying Sarah's one of the best. You're very kind, Diane. Thank you so much. Diane is also an organ donor. Thank you for being an organ donor, Diane.
Absolutely.
She wants to know, are you a digital reader or do you read old school books?
My first go-to is audiobooks. That's more or less out of necessity.
Now, Speed Demon O'Donnell over there.
Yes. And what I love about those is, I work out every day. I'm at the gym every day. I'm usually listening to a podcast or an audiobook.
Perfect.
And I used to have a long commute to work. So some days it was 45 minutes. So an audiobook is perfect.
That is perfect.
But if I am going to be reading, usually it's on a Kindle.
Fair enough. Randy saying, so glad you were on here tonight. I found a new favorite author.
Aww,
much respect.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for joining us. Y'all, we are actually over time. Time flies when you're having so much fun. Diane saying, see, she was right. No helmet going past. Listen to that. Oh my goodness.
I do now, so maybe I'm not so bad.
Tomorrow we're going to see if you do those 50 push-ups and post them to social media so we know you paid your due.
Okay.
Sergeant O'Donnell, what a pleasure to put you in the hot seat tonight, sir, getting the inside scoop on all things police and your latest book, Honor and Valor. Thank you so much for coming on. What a pleasure to host you. Frank, thank you so much for joining us, and great interview and show. Frank, great to have you with us. Thank you so much. And I will look forward to chatting with you again soon, Patrick.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, y'all. I'll be back at the top of the hour with Deborah Goodrich Royce and her latest Reef Road. Go get a snack, get a drink, and I will see you back then.